Good morning and welcome to another video. Yes, this is still 3.24. This, as of filming on December 23rd, is still playable. 4.0 is in preview and is still pretty broken. And overall, the gameplay loop that I'm playing isn't really changing. Just the economic output of these loops is what's changing. But as far as being able to haul cargo and mine things, that's not changing. So what I'm showing is still valid for what's coming in 4.0. You're just going to have a larger verse to do it in, potentially more players to worry about, and some new issues to deal with as they've broken quite a lot from what I'm seeing on the Spectrum forums. So I mentioned in the prior video that I did the auto load and I had a couple of bugs, and we talk about some of the bugs as we got through, and you're seeing a couple of them here with this shuttle having some hang-up issues. But I dropped off a bunch of loads from my prospector at the refinery. Most notably is the one we're about to go pick up, which is the fancy one with quantanium or whatever it is fuel. But this portion of it is focused on the actual cargo functionality of it. There is cargo running and hauling and all of those types of gameplay, which we'll talk a bit briefly at the end. But right now we just want to focus on kind of the activity and imagine that you have to get your cargo ship, fly to a destination, pick up the cargo, potentially load the cargo yourself, go to another destination, unload the cargo, or unload some of the cargo, so on and so forth. So the first thing I'm doing is I'm pulling out my backpack out of storage and my hip boots. I don't know why I grabbed those. I think I just wanted the aesthetic, but I need the backpack for the attachment point for the tractor beam gun. Without the backpack, I don't think I can actually do anything unless I carry the tractor beam, which is going to make it difficult to fly. I'm looking around here again because I'm still having issues working with the airlocks. In this case, the cockpit door wouldn't open, so I backed up a little bit and hit F, and randomly my character got into bed, and there was no way for me to get out of bed. I was stuck. Unfortunately, I had to log out, log back in, and then I could trek it all the way back out and very carefully make sure that I didn't do anything. Again, I'm just looking around for all these different doors, get in the cockpit, and we can finally head off to pick up my cargo. But it is very agitating with some of these bugs that you would think would be fixed by now, but some of these ships are OG. There's not really a lot of change that's happened on the Freelancer here. Since it was put into the game like, 7 years ago? And a lot of the game has changed, and I don't think the design aesthetic has caught up with it. Like, this ship needs a better view. It doesn't need this 5-mile long dash. It's like a Prius. Even the Carrack got a massive redesign and overhaul from what the original concept was. While I don't love every aspect of the redesign, the functionality that they added, I do like. I think they could have done a few things differently to maximize what the Carrack's role was, but again, roles change. Functionality changes, and that makes it more difficult for things to happen in the game. So we're getting out here to the cargo spot, or the refinery. And again, you can think of this as going out to pick up gear. The biggest issue I'm going to have with this in 4.0 is that they've screwed up the flight model yet again with these stupid master modes, where supposedly now I've been traveling high speed in quantum with boost, and you can ramp your throttle way up to maximum speeds. You lose shields, which I think is stupid anyway, but that's gone. So basically you just have to putz around at SCU speeds, which is really dumb. Or SCR, I don't remember. Anyway, regular flight speeds, which is dumb. Alright, so let's get into the medium-sized hangar here. Hopefully I don't blow myself up. It was really fun on the approach. Again, just the aesthetics of this refinery at the Lagrange point. Just, I love it with the clouds and the lighting and weaving around the station to come in and land here. I just wish the inside of the station more reflected the outside, but that's a whole different story. At least Port Olisar was very aligned to the station, along with the old ones. Korea was that way too. Alright, now you've seen this aspect of the loop. We're going to go get my stuff, send it to the ship, Had a couple of issues here. First, you saw that I did open the outer door so I could get off. Here we are grabbing my tractor beam gun, attaching it to my backpack, making sure it's there. I had some issues with it falling off or not being able to recover it. And then I had a couple issues where I needed to eat, and it was a mess. I don't know if it was this specific server or just something in the gameplay, but it did not seem to want to function quite right, and I was having issues getting it out, but I figured I'll deal with that in a minute. So we stored the ship just to make sure that it didn't despawn, and then we head off to the refinery. Now the collection of my goods is fine. On my way back, I could not get my ship to spawn. It said that it was delivering it to my hangar. I spawned it from within my hangar. It never showed up. I only had the option to claim it, but all of my cargo was on the ship now, so if I claimed it, I would lose the most amazing cargo run of my entire time playing the game. So after trying a whole bunch of different things, I was left with basically just logging out and logging back in. Because I was here on the station, currently you don't have to go talk to the hab to change your sleep station there or to rent a room. So thankfully I was able just to log back in, spawned there, go downstairs, and I was able to get my ship to finally spawn up, and then I could go back to Horizon to try and sell it. But that was a really annoying bug, along with trying to get the gravity gun to pull out. In places like this, you can do the auto loading, but if you're doing cargo hauling in some of these places, you have to load your ship as well, and we'll talk about some of those issues when we get to the unloading, especially with the Freelancer, which is just a massive bunch of issues, especially if you're fully loading it. When I had the Carrack, loading and unloading isn't really going to be a big deal, other than the problem with you have to drop the cargo containers down, open the doors, and then how are you supposed to stack things properly? So it's, again, another area where they didn't quite think through everything entirely as thoroughly as they should have. But the Carrack is shifting what seems to be more towards base building, which really wasn't a thing in the original game, and honestly, I don't see it as a necessary part of this game. Now, maybe there's some things where you're setting up new remote bases on planets and things, and that could be fun. But again, I don't think everybody needs to have their own little base on a planet. That's just like combining Space Engineers and all these other space games that have come out while this one's been sitting around doing very little. All right, so I came in the back door because I wanted to make sure all my cargo was here. It is. I'm happy as a clam to see my cargo. Little bit in the front, still had some storage space, but that brings me to the other point that I mentioned in the last one. The Prospector only carries 32 SCU of cargo. The Freelancer carries 66 cargo units. More than double. This is one load from the refinery. How did I take 32 units and create essentially 57 or 60, because I had very little cargo space left in the back there. So I don't understand quite how that works out. In refinement, I would have lost inert material, I would have lost slag, I would have lost a whole bunch of stuff during the refinement process. So I do not understand quite how I gained all this extra stuff. Hopefully that gets addressed, because I should have been able to haul both of those on this ship in this run. So that's definitely something that they need to pull together and sort out, because that just doesn't make sense to me. All right, so we're going to orbit the planet and come in. Now, having to fly all the way down to the surface and back up again, I did enjoy aspects of that gameplay from a long time ago in early 3.0. You had to kind of go through re-entry on planets and deal with a bunch of other stuff. But we had a flight model that would allow us to actually fly. So if they remove this ability to quantum within reason, it's going to get very, very cumbersome to constantly go up and down from space. It should make you stand out a lot more. It should be more visible on energy. So if you are running cargo, then yeah, give me a reason to manually fly down. Otherwise, if I'm a small fish in a big sea, I'm not going to worry about it. I'm just going to fly down in my ship, dock, and get out of there. If I'm going remote, far off planet, and I'm kind of landing on my own, then yeah, I'm going to be more careful. You can see here I'm kind of backing up to the rear cargo deck, and I'm landing so that I have a little easier time of unloading all the cargo. I probably could have gone to the one closer to the terminal, but hey. Now, I did have that glitch that went away as soon as I ran over there, the black wall went down. I'm equipping the gun. I couldn't get the long press of R to work right, and we're going to run headlong into the first of many issues with cargo on this ship. You see my turret up there has a little collar around it, and that means that the handles at the top of this particular cargo container won't come out. I spent 20 minutes fiddling with this. I did figure it out, and I did figure I could do that, but I wanted to see if there was any other way to do it, because this is a major oversight, and it's something I'd thought about a lot in the original design of the ship. One, I don't know why it has a docking collar on the ship. I can understand having it. It's in the middle section, which is why there's 2 airlock doors there. But honestly, I don't know why that's there. I think, honestly, that this turret should go in that middle section because you have a walkway down the middle and you can't load cargo in the middle, and they should put the docking collar here in the back of the ship. That's just my thought. The turret would make a bit more sense in the front of the ship, but you'd lose a little bit of the ability to shoot down behind you, but you're not really going to be doing that much anyway. So this docking collar, I think, is just absolutely absurd to put there. I tried a lot of different things that just wouldn't work. This big cargo container, I couldn't pull it out from under the one above it, which is smaller and should weigh less, because it would wedge in there. I tried moving it to the side. I tried getting it to pop the one on top out. I tried all sorts of little tricks to try and get it out, and it just wouldn't do it. The only way to get it out was when it was stuffed all the way in, was to pull it a little bit forward and then use the rotation option that you can see on the bottom right of the screen here. Hold R, and then you can rotate with, I think, the scroll wheel. I forget what it was, but you can rotate the actual cargo container, and in rotating it, I was able to get it so that handle was on the side, and then I could pull it out, which is kind of what we're going to see here. It was just, it took way too long to deal with. Now, yes, again, once I know that, it's not really the end of the world, because now I know the trick, rotate the cargo. But this is a problem that doesn't need to exist, honestly. I mean, look at that. That's dumb. Other things to pay attention with when you're dealing with the tractor beam is you need to stay looking at your cargo, and you need to be quick on the scroll wheel, because one pushes the cargo away from you, one pulls it towards you, and as you move around, you may move faster than the cargo does, so you may end up with some situations where, as I did, the cargo comes flying at you, and it actually knocked me over. I thought it was pretty cool, but it took half my health off, and I needed to use a med pen or whatever it is to kind of regen some of my health, which was a little bit annoying. Now, we're not going to sit here and watch me unload every facet of the ship in real time, but this does take time. This is something to consider when you're doing a cargo run, because cargo solo like this is going to be a little difficult if you're hauling stuff from a remote base on a planet to another remote base on a planet. Any griefer could just show up and shoot you down. Now, maybe there are some missions where a pirate's coming down to steal your cargo. I get that, but it's kind of like in Grand Theft Auto. I've put in a lot of effort to come out here and do this, and to have another player come grief me for it, yeah, that's annoying. But piracy is part of the game. They just need to make sure there's something to go against that. Now, you can also hire some NPCs to potentially run turrets or as a flight escort, or you can have a friend in a fighter kind of run with you. But the thing is, you need to consider a lone freelance pilot may be an easy target, but it also might be a waste of time because you're not carrying anything of high value, whereas somebody with a fighter escort, yeah, that might be higher value. Now, the next massive issue that I run into is this middle cargo bay, which is again why I think the whole cargo bay should just be one airlocked unit. You go in the back, you get up in your turret, or you decompress the airlock to go through the docking collar above, because you can't open the door to get this cargo container to go out. There's no way for me to go back there and hit F to open the cargo door. So I flipped around and tried to pull it out the door with me. But it's almost too wide for the door, so you constantly have to fiddle with the rotation of it and stay close enough to get the door to stay open by sensing you, and then to use the tractor beam to pull the cargo out with you. But it takes forever. Once you've got it all loaded up on the elevator, which is unique to these larger areas, you can transfer it to the warehouse, which then lets you go sell it off at whatever terminal for the planet, station, wherever you happen to be. Now again, if you're on a planet running small packages and cargo hauling for small facilities or private entities, you may not have the ability to do auto load or anything like that. So you're loading it up manually, running to a planet, and then unloading it manually. So all of that's very, very interesting. It's fun gameplay. It really brought out the inner Tetris player in me to try and stack it up, load it up, get it off. But I was really curious if I could unload that one stick without having to rotate it. And again, that's a massive design flaw. Same with the door. That middle door just needs to go. And open it up, flip the turret and the airlock around, and then the ship would be much better condition than it is now. But as it stands, you got to be very careful with the Freelancer. So this is me selling the goods. Again, the economy's already changed. It's very different. There's a lot of things that are broken with it, where some players can't even afford the cost of flight in hauling cargo because they're not making any money. But they'd overbuffed some of what you can earn in this version to try and entice people to do the missions. But this is basically me hawking all the goods. I made almost 60,000 out of this one. This was a wonderful run, and the small amount of quantanium that I got really is what made the difference. So this was a good run. Now, in the Mobi-Glass, which we'll cut to here in just a minute once I've sold everything, you have the option to set up all these cargo running or package delivery missions. You have to do kind of an initial mission, which gets you ingratiated into some of these runners. It's usually a small mission, carry a tiny amount of cargo. They want to validate that you can do the job. And then as you work for these folks, they'll probably open up more lucrative opportunities for you, or some of the lucrative opportunities might be more dangerous. So there's a lot of differences that'll probably come into play and out of play as you work through some of this. Now, you may not be able to run all of these because your ship might not be large enough. So you need to be careful and understand how big of a ship you have and how much cargo you can actually haul around, because you may need a ship like one of the hull cargo haulers. But bigger ships, even my Carrack has tons of storage, 461 cargo units, I think, is what it can currently haul. But it requires auto-loading until you can drop the cargo containers down. But these give you an opportunity to join a bit more of the story instead of doing it yourself. And if you have a smaller ship, then these are a great opportunity to earn money without being able to jump in. I'm lucky enough that I have a prospector and a freelancer and many other ships that allow me to kind of jump in and start doing multiple lines and loops of gameplay without really having to do anything else. But you can easily work your way up, or the sale was you could fairly easily work your way up. It doesn't mean overnight you're going to be immediately able to afford all of this, but if you played Grand Theft Auto 5, you could grind away at some of those businesses and rake in a ton of money. I did it, and I did it with the worst one in that game, and now I've got enough money to buy absolutely anything I want, like 10, 15, 20, 30 times over. So in this game, you can do cargo hauling. I plan to do some of that in 4.0, play some of these other loops that I haven't yet, simply because I want to avoid pirates, but there's a lot of issues in 4.0 right now. With that said, these are the loops. These are how they function for mining and basic cargo hauling. So thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next one, which will probably be from 4.0.